What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another preview stream. It is Tottenham against Newcastle, 12:30 kickoff tomorrow at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What could go wrong, Sim?
Nothing. Nothing's ever going to go wrong. It's Tottenham Hotspur. Everything goes right all the time, perfectly fine. I'm sure they've all taken their night nurse. They've all taken, their paracetamols, and they'll cobble together something.
Oh God! It's never a day without disaster in the world of Tottenham Hotspur.
No dodgy lasagna this time.
Unbelievable. From injury crisis to now a sickness bug going through the squad at this moment in time.
And the positive things, the guys who are injured probably aren't sick.
Yeah, so positive. So positive. But look, we've got an action-packed stream for you guys today. We're going to start off with a Tottenham update. We're going to go into all the preview stuff, and then we've got some transfer targets to look at as well for various different positions. But let's start off with...
Ever noticed we've got new chairs?
So we can suffer in comfort.
Yeah, look at this. Look at that, lovely chairs. Lovely stuff. These are the same chairs that Ange sits in his press conference. Look at that, comfortable chairs. New setup here, always improving. Thank you to our friends at Siddies. There you go.
They are actually just pucker chairs. Like we can...
Unbelievable. Got support, no more squeaking. Everyone's been complaining about the squeaky chairs. Everyone's been complaining about different things, but there you go. We got nice new chairs for us to sit on now.
All right. Well, enough of that. Let's get into...
Chris says Sim and Ben might have to play tomorrow.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Get us some boots.
I'm ready.
And we might have to. I think we've got no choice. You saw us in our video at the Tottenham Stadium. We can...
we got the knee slides on point.
Exactly. So if we ever score a goal, that celebration...
Not that many knee slides will probably be needed to use tomorrow. But look, let's...
A lot of sliding, that's for sure.
Let's get into the Tottenham update because there's quite a bit of interesting stuff in there. We're going to focus on Ange's press conference first and foremost, and we're going to go through an injury update. And he says, we've had an illness bug running through the squad, so a few have missed training. I've heard that Fraser Forster, Radu Dragusin and Archie Gray haven't trained all week. Maddison as well, up until yesterday, hadn't trained all week. So, and I don't know, there might be more as well.
We should just put an Arteta.
Yeah, we should.
Get the game called off.
We should.
That's really what we should do.
If it was COVID, if it was COVID times, then we probably would be able to, but it's not COVID times. But yeah, we just something that we didn't need with this injury crisis looming over us as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a disaster, let's be honest. It's nothing short of an absolute disaster at the moment. When it doesn't rain, it pours at the moment for Tottenham Hotspur. We can't seem to catch a break. Well, they caught something, but not a break. And we're in dire straits. We are on our knees, on our feet, probably on our knees over a toilet at the moment, I think, of the whole squad. I think I don't know what can I say? Like, we're on an injury crisis. Now, the remaining players have been hit by illness. If what you say is true, I mean, look, just because they didn't train, I guess, doesn't mean they're not going to play, but the likelihood is, what kind of condition are they going to be in if they do play? If they haven't trained all week, and are they going to be, rushed back? Are they, But again, if two of those players, all three of those players are forced to Dragusin and Gray, I mean, who are we playing at centre-back? Who are we playing in goal? I mean, it's a ridiculous situation. And also some of the other players, maybe some of the other players have trained, but are they still 100%? Are they also maybe affected somehow by the illness? Come tomorrow, are some players going to wake up affected by the illness at the last minute? Maybe it hasn't hit them yet. I mean, it's the last thing we needed, quite frankly.
We were all going on last week, and I was waking up yesterday thinking, you know what, Spurs might put in a performance, a whole week on the training ground, no game, a whole week's preparation, but we can't even get that.
It's a disaster, absolute disaster. Not more I'd concern. It's coming up against a Newcastle team in the form they're in confident mood as well. Even our best with an 100% fully fit squad, it was going to be a very difficult game tomorrow. Now we've got an injury crisis. We've got players coming down with illness, important players as well. It's horrific. And yeah, look, it will be a miracle on this evidence to get a result tomorrow, to be honest.
Yeah. He also said regarding the players that are out injured and not sick, he said, Destiny, his hamstring looks around 6 weeks for him. We lose Bentancur suspended. None of the injured players are back yet. Richarlison and Mikey Moore could be back in January. He says they're the next cab off the ranks. Van de Ven, Romero and Ben Davis are all back at the end of January, and Vicario is progressing on schedule. Could be back until in February.
Yeah, I mean, it's again not great news. We were hoping maybe mid-Jan for Romero and Van de Ven, so the fact that they're late Jan is not great. He said Ben Davis, after he picked up an injury, was going to be a couple of weeks, and now he's saying end of Jan. So again, that's also later than expected. Obviously, Udogie, we had that news a few days ago, so it's not a massive surprise. But there you have it. He was asked about Udogie, and he was saying, he was set to be rested in the game that he played, and then Spence got sent off. And then he had to play, and then obviously he picks up an injury, and that's just where we're at the moment. That's kind of like how things are going for us. Everything that can go wrong seems to be going wrong. Like whenever you think it can't get worse, it does get worse essentially for Tottenham right now. So it's not good news. And look, I know we're only 3 days into the window, but every game that ticks past without any signings through the door. The more games we're going to probably be dropping points at this rate because, we've got no defence at the moment. The defence is completely running on empty, and it's doesn't. Yeah, look, it's hard to stay positive about how I see us picking up any sort of results at the moment with the situation that we're in, to be honest. Yeah.
Regarding other comments that he's been making in the press conference regarding Jan Min-hyuk, he says there's no real plan or timeline for him. Let him settle. He's still very young, and he's coming from the other side of the world where the level is nowhere near what he'll face here. He's got Sonny here, which is a big help for him. So, I guess we probably won't see him this weekend for sure, and maybe the next couple of weeks.
We might have to see him this weekend on the bench at least, because we got literally no one. I reckon whether he plays or not, I reckon he'll be on the bench. Because why would we put, like, say, a teenager who we're never going to play, like Oluseyi or something, why would we put him on the bench ahead of a Jan Min-hyuk, who's obviously got a bit more senior football behind him? And he's probably, if you're not going to, look, we've put these teenagers, right, these kids, we've pulled them out of school and put them on the bench with no real intention of playing them, right? So at least Jan Min-hyuk, we've signed him for, decent money. He's come from the K-League having done really well. So we're probably more likely to play him than a school kid. So,
yeah, but I'll tell you why. Is because that we're actually, as much as it's weird to think about, we're actually more covered in the forward line at this moment in time than defence. Defence is going to need kids on the bench, no doubt about it. We've got Timo Werner there, we've got Son there, we've got Brennan,
what cover do we have in the forward line?
More than the defence, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but we're going to need some sort of players on the bench for forward players, and it might as well be him.
Timo will be on the bench.
One player. I think he'll be on the bench. I don't know whether he'll play, but I'm pretty certain he'll be on the bench. Unless he's.
But it'll be him alongside school kids.
Yeah, 100%. But unless he's not match fit to play, I don't see why he shouldn't be on the bench. There's no real reason, because we're literally so short at the moment.
Even if he isn't match fit to play, he'll probably still be on the bench.
Yeah. So look, I don't know. You're right. I don't know whether we'll see him or not this weekend, but I do think he'll be on the bench, and if let's say someone picks up an injury in the forward line, he might have to be called upon.
And then he's talking about January transfers, and he says the club is working hard to get some help for the playing group. We need to bolster up the numbers a bit. January is obviously not an easy time to bring players in quickly, but we still want to do what's best for us rather than panic. I mean, it kind of is a panic situation at the moment.
Panic stations. I mean, the fans are panicking, that's for sure.
And I'm sure he's panicking behind the scenes as well. It's just
of course. I mean, look, the situation we're in, it's difficult, like, to stay calm, I guess, because the form's dropped off. We're not getting any players back. We're losing games and we're dropping points left, right, and centre. He said in his pre-match press conference, we have to start picking up points in the Premier League, and it's only getting more difficult. It's not the situation isn't letting up at all when it comes to injuries, and it's only getting worse now with illness. So, obviously the temptation would be to panic. But as well, you don't want to put yourself in another situation where you've got a play, you sign a player who's not the right fit, and then all of a sudden we're stuck with him for the long term. So that's also a situation you want to avoid. But
if that is the case, we need to focus on loans.
Yeah. So
It's at that time, like, we've got too many players out at this moment in time. We need to just bring in bodies.
At the end of the day, we've got, you know, the revenue of this club is hundreds of millions. The club is worth billions and billions of pounds. We've invested millions and millions in our recruitment team. I'm sure we pay them a good wage, right? I'm sure Director of Football Johan Lang is getting paid a healthy money. It's time for him to earn his bloody money, right? Yes, it's going to be hard to get players, but, you know, you're at a club who's one of the richest clubs in the world. Like, find someone who fits the system. How hard is it? You've been given... Look, this injury crisis doesn't come overnight. How long have we been here? 2 months now? With this injury crisis and the problem that we're in? Like, we should be ready for this window. We should have planned for it. We should have known what we've wanted. We should have had these conversations. We should have had these meetings. And now it's time to execute. There's no need for dilly-dallying. We should be going out there and getting things over the line and getting things done. And, you know... I don't want to hear like excuses about and look, I do understand it's a difficult window and all these different things because of certain things, but you should have a vast network of scouts and vast network of analysts to analyze all these different players that you've gone through, because, you know, we've been in this situation for a while. So get it done.
Is this your first transfer window following Spurs?
Absolutely not. It's but look, we need to get things done. We need to
no
start
matter
moving.
who the recruitment team is, no matter who the director of football is, it's always the same shit every single transfer window. Look, it is only the 3rd of January, so I don't want to be too hasty, but I mean, this happens every year.
I mean, I don't think we're as
the injury crisis doesn't happen every year, but it did happen last year. Not as bad as it is this year, but it still was a bad one.
I don't think the need for new signings is as much as it's been this season, this January.
But I mean, we dilly-dally every single transfer window.
Yeah. Apart from the one under Conte where we had all of it done in July.
Yeah. And even then we expected more towards the end and we never got it. But anyway, let's talk about potential transfers. Peter O'Rourke says that Tottenham are tracking highly rated Udinese defender Thomas Christiansen, 22-year-old Danish under-21 international. I've been hearing that he's due for a call-up to the senior team in the next international break, apparently, as well. Hasn't played too much football this year due to a calf problem, but he has... currently got flu at this moment in time. And
so we've gone from only starting injury-prone players to only starting players who are ill now. We have to match it up with the squad. They have to fit in.
But since coming back from his calf problem, he has been starting for Udinese. But yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about him.
I mean, I haven't seen him play, but you know, he's quite tall. Apparently, he's quite quick. I mean, the data doesn't suggest anything outstanding, but. Look, we need the bodies in. If they've scouted him and decided he's kind of a good fit for the system, then get him in, because we need the bodies. But yeah, I don't know too much about him.
Let's talk about Sam Johnston. Paul O'Keefe said yesterday that Johnston is now emerging as a strong candidate for Spurs as they search for a goalkeeper as a backup for Vicario. He is one of the leading contenders for Spurs. And Ali Gold did say something similar, but then he did kind of reply to that, saying Johnston was seemingly one of the keepers Spurs had considered again, as they did back before they signed Fraser Forster, but it's not going any further than that. So
yeah, I think that's the right decision. As much as we need, I think we do need an upgrade on Forster. I think Forster has done a decent job, but I think in the last few games he's really shown that, you know, he's not quite up to, very clearly not Vicario's level, but look, he's just a below average keeper at this point in time, I think, in terms of Premier League, and we need an improvement on that. Sam Johnston would be a slight improvement. I don't think it was enough of an improvement for me to think that signing him would make a massive difference, in my opinion. He hasn't had a great few years as well. It's been a while since he's been playing well at club level. So I think there's no point. I just don't see why invest in him. I don't see the point in it. So for me, I mean, the gap between Forster and Johnson is not big enough to justify getting Johnston in.
Bring back Josh Keeley is what I say. And then last but not least, Gazzetta dello Sport are claiming that Jose Mourinho wants to be reunited with Son Heung-min and sign him for Fenerbahce.
I want to be united with Son Heung-min.
You want to be what?
United with him.
United. You are united with him. You and Son Heung-min have a bond that can't be broken.
All right, so Mourinho can get lost. Look, I don't think he's going to Fenerbahce, in my opinion. Unless his bad form really continues and is not improving, then he might be leaving. But I think I think this is a temporary lack of form at the moment for him. I do think I've seen enough from him this season to suggest that he's still got a lot to offer, and I don't think he's gonna go to Fenerbahce. I know, look, I'm sure Mourinho wants him. I don't think Mourinho's probably going to be there by the time Son goes anyway. So, don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. That is your Tottenham update. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all those news stories we've spoken about today. And now let's get into the match preview. It is Tottenham against Newcastle. It's going to be a very, very difficult game. If it was going to be difficult when we were thinking about it last week, it's going to be ever more so difficult now. Newcastle flying at the moment. Spurs just can't seem to get any kind of results. I mean, we beat Southampton, and that was, I think we've had 2 wins. Southampton and Man City. Those are the last 2 wins, right? In the last 2 months.
Well, we beat United in the cup.
Yeah, I'm talking about league.
Yeah.
But 2 wins in our last 2 months, and a squad decimated at the moment, and now an illness running through the camp. It is. I've never seen it so bad. I've seen some bad situations. I've never seen it so bad. You're talking about, on top of the players that we have injured, you've got a sickness run through the camp. I've heard, Fraser Forster, Dragoshin, Gray, Maddison, all been suffering with this sickness. I have no idea what kind of team that we're going to see. It's just like, who knows?
Dorrington, Austin.
And even if it is Dorrington and Austin, right? Who's gonna partner Dorrington?
Don't know. I honestly don't know at this point in time. Look, we don't know who's been ruled out or not. We just know who's we've been told who's been suffering with illness, and doesn't mean they're not going to play, but it also doesn't mean we know what kind of condition they're going to be in if they are given some pills to get through this illness or get through the symptoms and try and get them on the pitch. Doesn't mean that they're going to be able to put in a good performance. That's another question. They've been dehydrated apparently for a lot of this week. Suggestions, some have had to seek a lot of medical assistance during their time being ill. It's a really, really bad time, and on top of the injury crisis, it's incredible how much the squad is kind of put on them, and how much how much at the moment it's like they're bending, and it's only a matter of time before it breaks. At the moment,
it's broken. Never mind breaks. It's broken. It's been broken, and now it's just like shattered. It's just a crazy situation. I've never seen anything like it. You look at Arsenal against Brentford a couple of days ago. There was a sickness running through that camp, and a few players had to pull out. I think Kai Havertz was one of the ones that had to pull out. Declan Rice was struggling. He was on the bench, ended up coming on. But we just don't have time for it. We don't have players to consider an illness running through the camp. We just don't.
The club shared training photos videos yesterday. Where was the illness come from? Yeah, I haven't looked at the training fixtures and see who's been training or not.
There were pictures of Maddison in training yesterday. He put them up on social media.
So maybe he came back to training yesterday.
Yeah, we just don't know. Ange kind of just played it down and said, yeah, there's a bit of a sickness running through the camp, but we'll be all right.
We're going to be all right in the long term. Obviously, the sickness isn't going to be here for months, I assume, but in the short term, we've got a Carabao Cup semi-final coming up this week. We've got, obviously, a massive game against Newcastle, who are flying at the moment. It's extremely worrying how to think about how we're going to get through these games. It's nigh on impossible to think that we somehow will cobble together a performance with the players available to do it. It's going to be extremely, extremely difficult. If those players who are ill are out, then honestly, you're looking at probably Basuma partnering Dorrington or Austin in goal, probably Bergvall but in the 6. It's crazy. It's crazy. The situation that we're in, and coupled with Newcastle, they're just beating teams left, right, and centre. Isaac's in the form of his life at the moment. They've really got the chemistry going with that midfield 3 now with Joelinton, Guimaraes, and Tonali, and they're looking like a real a real prospect. That midfield 3, intimidating
force,
prospect,
mate.
a real force,
absolute force
against anyone. I think at this point. Even the best, I think, though, that midfield 3 is playing as good as any midfield 3 in the league at the moment.
They battered you. They've in their last 3 games, they've scored 4 against Ipswich, 3 against Villa, 2 against Manchester United. Haven't conceded any. If you look at these stats, I think they've actually won their last 5 games. So, last 5 games they've won. They've only conceded 1 goal
I think
in
maybe a
that
cup
time.
game in there, is there?
Maybe, but I don't think so. Who did they play in the quarterfinal of the
Brentford.
cup? Oh, so yeah, cup game in there as well. But still, they're still battering teams. Every team that they come up against at the moment, their defence seems to be on it. Sven Botman is available for selection as well, who hasn't been available pretty much all season.
It's mad to think that Newcastle, beginning of December, they were below Spurs at the beginning of December. They were in like 12th or 13th. They were having a really inconsistent season. They struggled to really find consistent results. You know, Isaac wasn't scoring with any regularity, and all of a sudden, they've got it. I don't know whether it's players coming back or what it is, but they've really clicked in the past month. We know Eddie Howe, Newcastle under Eddie Howe. They've always been a good team. I know last season they had their struggles with the injuries, but they've obviously we know at their best they're a very good team, and they've always got the capabilities of when they've got everyone fit to put it together like a really strong showing, especially that midfield three, so strong and athletic, and they've got that at the moment. And they're showing that they can, get some consistent results. And all it took, 4 wins, and all of a sudden they took themselves from 12th to 5th, and right in the conversation of they're not even far off second now. They're like 5 points off second with 4. Just all it took was 4 wins. That's how close this Premier League is. It's crazy. And look, credit to Eddie Howe for turning it around. But it's we're not talking about 10 wins in a row here. We're talking about 5 wins, and all of a sudden they've shot up the league.
Yeah. I'm just trying to look at what their actual record is. I can't get it up, but I think they've at the beginning of the season as well, because I remember saying that they were winning games, but they weren't playing too well, but they were getting away with it quite well. So I mean, they won quite a few games at the start of the season as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
What's their
wins
wins loss draw ratio?
9-5-5.
9-5-5.
9 wins, 5 draws, 5 losses.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. Well, I guess before that they were on probably like 5-5-5.
I'm saying before these 4 wins, it was 5-5-5, which is obviously not great. And then it's average, and now they've shot up the league with these 4 wins, which is credit to them, and they're playing very well. It's not like these are lucky wins. They're absolutely destroying teams, and fair play to them. And they're now getting Botman back, as you say. They've really turned it around, and they're absolutely intimidating prospect for any team right now. I think literally, they got a draw even against Liverpool, didn't they, not so long ago, and what was a really good performance, albeit they could have easily lost that game, but they turned that around, and it was brilliant. They beat Arsenal. I'm saying any team in the league they face right at the moment, they're putting in a really good performance, and they're winning games. So it's going to be very difficult for Tottenham
would have been very difficult for us if we had a fully fit squad. Never mind.
Fully fit squad and at our best, it would have been very difficult.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So, look, it is a bit of a worrying prospect coming into this game this weekend. But if you look at the head-to-head between Spurs and Newcastle, it doesn't make for good reading either. Taking a few batterings in there, albeit we did batter them the last time that they came down to Tottenham last year. I mean, Sonny just absolutely terrorised Trippier that day, didn't he?
Yeah.
But apart from that...
And Rishi got a double.
We've lost 4 out of the last 5 games.
Yeah, obviously I thought the game at the beginning of the season, when we played them at St James's, we probably should have gotten something out of
Best
the game.
performance at St James's for a while.
Yeah, well, I thought we dominated. We should have gotten something out of the game, and we didn't. We ended up losing, and we had to learn that lesson. But I thought definitely the best performance we've had up there for a long time, where we usually get battered. Well, last season, famous for Van der Ven slipping and just, 2 goals in 2 minutes. Season before that, 5-0 down in 20 minutes. One of up there in top 5 most disastrous displays in our Premier League history. Probably that 6-1 at Newcastle. So we've had some
5-0 after 20 minutes?
I was saying 5-0, 20 minutes. It was absolute. That was disaster. I think that was 1 game or 2 games after Conte left.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is at home.
I am Christian Stellini. I am the manager of Tottenham.
And it didn't. Wasn't for long. I think after 20 minutes, he'd lost his job. So we haven't got a great record against them, and it's gonna be very difficult. I know we're at home, so look, even though we've got all these problems, I'm sure we'll probably create some chances and stuff, but. That I just can't see us having control of this game. It's going to be too difficult.
It's a real big shame because, I know you're probably going to laugh at what I'm about to say, but I was actually feeling a lot more positive coming into this game than I have done over the past couple of weeks, just because it's the first time in ages where we've had like a week to prepare for a game, where you're not coming into this game absolutely shattered. You know, the players are going to have a week on the training ground, a week to, you know, not playing 3 games a week, not being absolutely shattered, you know, a bit of rest in the legs. And then this sickness comes through and just hits us for 6. So, yeah, it's going to be really difficult to just maneuver ourselves through this game. Who knows what kind of team are going to be playing? And even if the players that have been sick do play, none of them have been training this week. So what kind of condition are they coming into the game in?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. You know, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very, very difficult tomorrow. I'm trying to think of ways we could get some sort of advantage. The only thing I can think of in terms of the forward line, we know how Son had a good game against Trippier last year, albeit I think Trippier was in a bad moment. I don't think he's in such a bad moment at the right now. He might not even play.
Hall in Livramento.
Yeah, it might be. Well, Trippier played last game, but Trippier went off injured as well, so Livramento might play. Obviously, Botman's back, but maybe he's not, you know, 100%. You know, it's going to be his first game back from injury, because I think Fabian Schär's suspended. Obviously, Dubravka's probably going to play because Pope's been injured, so he's going to be in goal. Lewis Hall is a good left back going forward. Is he a bit weak defensively? Can he be got out defensively? I mean, those are things you can maybe look at, but I mean, Isaac's going to be absolutely licking his lips, isn't he? Gordon as well, probably going to think about that.
Even Jacob Murphy's going to be licking his lips.
Murphy. It's I think that midfield 3 as well. I mean, I don't know what kind of midfield we're going to be playing. Obviously, if Maddison's not playing, maybe a Decky in the middle with...
I assume Maddison will play. I mean, he was training yesterday.
Maybe Decky with Sarr and Bergvall, if Basuma has to play centre-back, or might be Basuma. I'm up against that very athletic and strong and confident middle 3 of Newcastle. You know, you're relying on Decky to somehow, I think, I think when they're all 3 are their best, I'm not saying they can go toe-to-toe, but they can definitely compete with them. We've seen that before in previous games, but it's just right now, the way we are, it's going to be very difficult to wrestle control out that midfield, who I think come into this game in super confident mood. I think their backline can be got at, although, as you've shown in the stats, defensively they're on very good form, 2 goals conceded in the past 5 games, so they've maybe found a formula which seems to be working at the moment for them defensively. But I do think, you know, overall, I don't think they're impenetrable defensively, but, you know, we're far from that as well at the moment. So I just can't see us scoring more goals than them tomorrow. I just can't see a situation where we do that.
Yeah. And you look at the league table, right? And a loss this weekend, Crystal Palace, you know, could make some serious headway on us. We're currently on 24 points, Palace on 20 points. So, I mean, Palace in 15th. If they win, then suddenly we are really sliding down that league in terms of, you know, teams from 15th, 16th, 17th. You know, Wolves are on good form at the moment. Everton, I know they lost their last game, but they are picking up points here and there. Crystal Palace have turned it around since their early season horror show. So you're looking at these teams and they're really starting to creep up on us.
Yeah, but what can we do about it? It's nothing. We can't, you know, we can't stop players getting ill. We can't get players back from injury. There's not much we can do right now. We've got tough games coming up. We just got to go with what we've got. I mean, I'm not sure. You know, Ange doesn't have some magic card that he can turn Dorrington into Van de Ven. You know, he's got what he's got, and he's got to try and deal with it. And he's playing, you know, teams like Newcastle and, you know, Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, and, you know, every team right now is good right now in the Premier League. It seems every team has got possibilities. Look, you even see last week, you know, Ipswich beating Chelsea. Like, every team has possibility of picking up points against anyone right now, it seems. And when you've got a drop off like us right now with the injuries and especially with illness now, I mean, I don't know what. I mean, yeah, I think we might again. We might be sliding down even more, but it's hopefully it's only a temporary situation until we get players back or maybe signings or whatever. But right now, I can't sit here and say it's going to get much better. But I don't think losing tomorrow, we should, you know, we should be sacking Ange if we lose tomorrow, because what's he supposed to do right now? Like, I don't really blame him. It's like, what's he supposed to do tomorrow with all these problems? He can't. What can he change?
Yeah, it's true. And I wasn't saying slipping down the table like, you know, as a stick to beat Ange with, but it is reality, you know. If these injuries we're saying these injuries are not letting up till the end of January at least, right? We might have to get Richarlison and Mikey Moore back until then, but realistically, the defensive woes are not going to...
Back end, he said it's back in the Jan,
Yeah. So in that time, we play a cup semi-final against Liverpool, Newcastle, Tamworth in the cup, Arsenal, Everton away, Hoffenheim, and then maybe they'll be back for Leicester at home and Elfsborg at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be incredibly difficult to pick up anything in any of... I mean, Tamworth, we should be. We should. But...
we need signings, man.
In any other of those games, like, can you see us picking up points in Newcastle, Arsenal or Everton? Because I can't.
Not right now. No, I can't.
And that means 3 losses, which... I dread to think where we're going to be in the league table after these 3 games.
Yeah, but I think once we get players back, we'll start to pick up wins again. But at the moment, I just...
The thing is, once we get players back, we need to be on a proper, consistent run of form to really push ourselves back up to any sort of respectable place in the table. And I just can't see us doing that.
Well, look, this has completely derailed our season at this point. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it has, especially in the league anyway. We've still got opportunities in the cups, for sure. Europa League is still there. We're still, got a good chance of finishing the top 8. We're still there in the League Cup. Maybe
Hoffenheim just signed Gift Orban.
Oh, so he's going to score a hat-trick. Look, maybe by the second leg at Anfield, we'll have our players back. So maybe we can keep the score respectable in the first leg. You can try and do something at Anfield.
Can't even see that.
Look, we have to, you've got to try and look for opportunities. The FA Cup is still there. And as if we can, at the moment, you just got to try and finish in that top half, I think, at this point, because...
Is that where we're at now?
Well, with the situation we're in, I don't see it turning around until February, to be honest, unless we get some serious business done in this month and quickly. I don't see how the situation turns with the fixtures we have. So I think at this point, the league is going to be very difficult to get anything more than, a top 10 finish. What I can see, if the current situation continues, unless we have a mad run between February and May, I think at the moment you have to try and just go for the cups when our players get back. And I do believe we can do something in the cups, because we have, hopefully, by the time the cups really get going, we'll have our players back. Maybe we'll have some signings through the door. Hopefully the whole situation will have settled down by then. But right now, I'm just, it's a very difficult situation, and I don't know how we maneuver it, to be honest. I don't know. I think any club with the situation we're going through is going to find it very difficult to maneuver through this situation. Especially, we're also on top of that, we're a very young team. Ange is only 18 months in the job, but even when we're fully fit, we're not fully settled yet. We're not fully a consistent team at that point as well. So, we've still got a lot of learning to do. We're not this perfect team that, if, for example, like Arsenal or I mean, I would say City, but obviously they're not the great example at the moment, but like Arsenal could, if they have these problems, they could rely on the fact that they've been in a process for 4 years and they can hang on, that they know what they're doing even with a lot of these problems. But right now, we're still very young in our project, so even on the back of that, it's still very difficult, even with our players back. So I don't know. I think the next few weeks is going to be even more painful, but I don't know how we turn it around. I don't know what we do to turn it around right now. I don't know how we can do it.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I'm just lost with this. I mean, the season in the league looks pretty much over. And yeah, I guess we just got to wait until we get players back and see how we can salvage anything in the cups. But, hopefully we'll still be in the Europa League, whether it be, outside the top 8 or inside the top 8, we'll still be in it, which is a positive thing. And the FA Cup...
If you offered me right now, I'll just lose all the January games in the Prem, but getting that top 8 in Europa, I'd probably take it at this point, because even that's up in the air. If we got a cobbled together team for like those games, we need to get probably 4 points out of those 2 Europa games. And if we can get ourselves in that top 8, which means no more Europa, I think, till March, and then by that point, you really hope we've got some players back. Then you just put all your eggs in the Europa basket, and then you can still have a good season. But right now, I don't know it's hard. It's hard enough with a fully fit team to be consistently winning games in the Prem, but with the situation we're in, I don't even know how I can expect the team to do it. I just don't know how.
Yeah. It's at this point in the preview I usually ask you for a prediction.
I mean, I said before 3-2, but with these problems now with illness and all that, I mean, probably a.
I was about to say, like, I don't know if you want to give a prediction, because I think it could get really ugly.
I think
tomorrow.
Maybe like a 4-1 Newcastle or something.
I think it could even be more. I don't even want to give a prediction for tomorrow. I really don't.
Having said that, if we somehow get a result, I mean, the team will deserve a lot of credit if we do.
If we keep it respectable and down to only a 1 or 2 goals in it, probably the team deserve a lot of credit. That's the reality. That's where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is our match preview. Whilst we line up, let's line up the predicted lineup. Once we do that, and I'll get into some comments while we're doing that. There was a super chat which I'll get to from Joshua Bonner. Big up, Josh. He says, nothing will change until the ownership does, gents. I'd recall Solomon this Jan and spend on a centre back and a world-class 6. Biss has got to go, but how much for? Yeah, you know what? I mean, there are players out there on loan that is doing well that probably would get a lot of minutes right now. I think Jamie Donnelly, I mean, he was filling in at left back, wasn't he, in pre-season, and he was doing quite well. So, look, I don't want to kind of take him out of an environment which he's flourishing at the moment.
I think maybe it's a case of, like, we try to get signings in, and if we can't, maybe at the end of Jan, if it's possible, you bring.
We need them now,
back.
though, for these games coming. We need them now.
Yeah, I know, but
maybe it's a case. Is it allowed to take them back and then loan them back at the end of Jan?
They can only play for 3 clubs, I believe.
But what if it's the same club?
Yeah, I don't know the rule on that.
I wonder if that's a possibility to take someone.
No, I don't. We're not going to do that, though.
Yeah, but why not? Like, because we're desperate.
I know.
That's how desperate we are.
I just can't see us doing that.
I can't see it either, because it's never been done before. But surely at this moment in time, you need to get a bit creative. Like, is it legally allowed to do that? Can you recall a Jamie Donnelly, a Manor Solomon, even a Josh Keeley if Fraser Ford? Well, I mean, forget Josh Keeley for a second.
It would have to be to the same team, but again,
Jamie Donnelly and
I don't know.
Manor
It
Solomon.
depends on the contracts. I mean, the team would have to agree to it that you're loaning them to, because they've paid money for the loan, unless they just agree to cancel it. So I just don't see them agreeing to that. Like, I don't know. I just don't see it happening, to be honest.
Yeah, like I said, I don't see it happening either, but I think it's an idea that they should really look into, because we're just so down on numbers at the moment. Jamie Donnelly has filled in at left back. I know Premier League's a different kettle of fish. He did it in pre-season, which, you know, maybe you can, maybe you can't learn anything from, but we've got no left backs. We literally got no left backs.
Yep.
So, I don't know. It's a difficult situation. But let's get into the predicted lineup. Tottenham against Newcastle.
I don't even know what to predict.
Yeah, Ange has been speaking in a press conference. What is the situation of the injuries coming into it?
Well, he said that Davis, Romero, Van de Ven not going to be seen probably till the back end of Jan. Richarlison, Mikey Moore are the next players to be back from injury, but they're not going to be available for this weekend. Destiny Doggy is going to be out for 6 weeks. Wilson Odobert set to be back around February, and Vicario February-March time. Bentancur is also suspended for this game because he bloody got a yellow card in the last game. Again, another thing we didn't need. And there's been illness coming through the camp as well. On top of all of this, there's been a bout of illness, and it means that the likes of Dragoshin, Forster, Archie Gray have all missed, and Madison have all missed big parts of training this week. And I don't know whether they've trained today, but this week they have definitely not been training. And you know, I don't know what other players might be affected come tomorrow. So, you know, I don't know who's going to play, who's not going to play. It's an absolute shit show at the moment. It's tough to see us putting out a team that can get a result. I mean, at the moment, yeah. I mean,
even without the injuries.
It's terrible.
I mean, even without the illness. But look, let's try and make a stab at it. We have no idea what players will or won't play because of the illness. In terms of in goal, I mean, I've heard that Fraser Forster hasn't trained all week because of the illness. We don't know what kind of state he's in. But do we go with Fraser? Do we go with Brandon?
What I would say with Fraser is he's experienced enough where Does he like? I'm not saying he doesn't need to train, but like if he's fit on the day, you could probably just put him
But we
in.
don't know if he will be.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm just saying, if he is, I reckon he puts him in. If he's fit, if he turns up on the day and he's like, McGaffer, I've cut over it. I'm ready to play. I don't think he needs a whole week of training to be ready.
There's a bigger frustration as well. Another frustration is that this game is the 12:30 on the Saturday. Like, if this game was on the Sunday, it would have given us like that extra day just to maybe get a few players back.
An extra day, training as well, just to see who can get back. But yeah, we've got the earliest game as well. All the circumstances are against us. But I guess should we put Brandon in?
I don't know, man. Go for it. Put Brandon Austin in.
We're going to go with Brandon.
Brandon Austin to make his debut for Tottenham Hotspur. In terms of the right back, I think it will be Pedro Porro.
Yeah, I mean, someone who's hopefully fit. Pedro Porro, week break. I thought he looked a lot better in the last game as well against Wolves. So hopefully he can carry on that good look. But he's got Anthony Gordon to contend with. Not an easy prospect. Gordon's in great form. I thought he'd been having an inconsistent season up until recently, Gordon, and now he's really turned it on. So, yeah, he's going to have a tough game. Yeah,
in terms of the centre-backs, another tricky situation because we've heard that Dragoshin and Gray have both been suffering as well. I mean, we don't have Dorrington even on this list.
No.
I do think both of them will play, though.
You think Gray and Dragoshin will both play?
I think so. I mean, they haven't trained all week, but what options do we have?
And Dragoshin played last game, not 100%.
And also, because Bentancur is out, Bissouma's going to have to play the 6 unless you play Berg. I don't know. It's just a mess.
It's an absolute mess. I guess we'll have to put Dragoshin in because he's a warrior. So I think he'll play. And Arch, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Dragoshin and Bissouma if Gray's not well and then put Bergvall in, but that's only the players we've heard about being ill. Maybe there's more, but
yeah, there probably is more.
I guess we'll put Gray in. Ill Gray. Then left back, you've got Jed, who's going to have to play there.
Yeah, Jed Spence for sure, left back.
Jed's going to have to play there.
Then you're looking at the midfield. I mean, Bissouma's for sure.
Yeah, he has to play.
And then alongside him, I reckon it's probably going to be Kulusevski
and Sarr.
And Sarr, yeah.
Decky and Sarr, which is not terrible. It's pretty...
And Sarr with a week's rest as well. Hopefully he hasn't had any sort of illness.
Decky as well, he was running on empty a bit. Even though he had a good game, you could still see he's running on empty a bit. So hopefully the rest would have done it really good.
100%. And, these players were in desperate need for a week off. Take them out of game state situation. And that's exactly what they've had. So hopefully that midfield can stand up to scrutiny because... You're looking at a Newcastle midfield that are so on it at the moment. They're playing at the top of their game in terms of where they're at in the season. And we're going to need a midfield that can match up to them.
That's going to be the most important area. I know Isaac's in great form and stuff, but if you can kind of somehow win that midfield battle, I think you go a long way to being able to get a result in this game. That midfield battle is key. I think that's where United really lost it when I was watching them. That midfield completely ran rings around them.
Yeah.
So I think... If those three are fit and at their best and they can compete with that Newcastle 3, maybe we can somehow get a result.
Right wing, I think Brennan Johnson has got to play.
Yep, Brennan obviously won the penalty last game. And also I remember last year against Newcastle had one of his better games. So up against Lewis Hall, but he's going to have to turn up.
Yeah, and Solanke and Sonny. I think that'll make up the 11.
Yeah, Sonny, Solanke up front. And Sonny on the left.
So that is our predicted lineup to take Newcastle on tomorrow at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So Brandon Austin in goal, Pedro Porro right back, Jed Spence left back, Archie Gray and Radu Dragusin at centre back, with Bissouma and Sarr and Kulusevski in the midfield 3. Hopefully it's Bissouma and Sarr in some sort of double pivot with Kulusevski as the 10, and then Brennan Johnson on the right, Sonny on the left, and Dom Solanke up top. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very tricky situation, to put it lightly.
Yeah, and Newcastle, we've seen the form they're in. We've seen how well they're playing. So, look, we'll give it our best, I'm sure. But we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's our predicted lineup. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Me and Sim are going to be in the studio for the watch along tomorrow. Very much looking forward to you guys coming and having a bit of a laugh with us tomorrow. So, yeah, join us at about 12:15 tomorrow for the watch along. But that is your predicted lineup. And to end off the stream, we're going to be... I don't know if any of you guys saw the content that we put out yesterday in terms of centre-back, left-back and goalkeeper transfer targets that we could be potentially targeting in January or even the summer. Well, now we're going to be looking forward to centre-mid, right-wing and strikers. We've got 5 of each of those positions, and we're going to have a look at centre midfielders first. So we're going to look at 5 different central midfielders who we think that could be targets for Spurs. And the first one is going to be Angelo Stiller of Stuttgart, 32 million euro market value, 23 years of age. And I don't know much about him, to be honest.
Yeah, he's really making waves in Germany at the moment. He's having a fantastic season in Stuttgart. A lot of people are talking about him as someone who's going to get a very big move this season. I think real combative central midfielder, but it's very good technically as well. Extremely impressive, progressive passer. Very good with the ball at his feet. Really good ball carrier as well. And also quite strong in the challenge. But he does it. The only question marks are, how much does he get involved in the duels? I guess if you look at the stats here, if you bring him on from Stiller, you can see he's very strong in his passing metrics. Again, his dribbler's tackle percentage is strong as well, so quite good when he's being taken on. Gets on the ball a lot, but his tackle and interception metrics are quite low. So you could argue, does he have the the ability to cover the amount of ground that we need him to cover? Those kind of questions. Does he make enough tackles, interceptions? But I think he has a lot of qualities we would want in R6, to be honest. And I think he's 23 years of age as well. I think he's very impressive.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't really know much about him, but he seems though that he had a Bayern Munich. He had a Bayern Munich education. He came through the ranks at Bayern Munich. Then Hoffenheim signed him, and then this is his second season at Stuttgart. So, really making a name for himself. Next up is João Gomez of Wolves. He's a player that I've been so impressed with over the past couple of years. 23 years of age, 40 million market value. Scored a couple goals against us.
Yeah, last year he got a brace.
Last year. I think he's just a player that has so much aggression, bundle of energy. I think he can contribute to the defensive and attacking phases of play. And I feel like once he goes to a better team, you'll really start seeing more out of him as well.
Yeah, I think he is probably more of a box-to-box player than he is maybe a 6, which is a priority for us. But I think as an 8, he will do a really good job for Tottenham. That is obviously playing in the 5-2-3 formation that Wolves generally plays. Usually that kind of number 8 box-to-box player in the middle there. If you bring on his stats, you can see this is how he kind of profiles as a number 8 box-to-box player. Quite strong. Take-ons and attacking things. Passing a bit below average. Does make a lot of tackles in the middle third, and tackles interceptions as well is quite strong. Quite good at carrying the ball as well. Passing metrics, not the best though. So maybe he could improve those. But obviously, again, Wolves are not the most possession-heavy team, so I think his passes get probably because of that. His passing metrics aren't as high, but I think he definitely shows a lot of potential. And the stats suggest, very combative and quite decent with the ball at his feet as well. Yeah,
he's a player that I love. I really do. And I'd love to see him through the door at Spurs. But I feel like if we were to bring him in, we still need to bring in another midfielder alongside him, because I really want to see a strong 6 come in. And the next player that we're going to talk about is a really strong 6 in Morten Hjulmand of Sporting Lisbon. 25 years of age, 45 million market value. Big downside of him, though, he does have an Arsenal tattoo.
Yeah, and that obviously won't ingratiate him. Again, very good passer of the ball, very good on the ball. Defensively, quite decent as well. If you look at the stats, he gets on the ball a lot. He's quite comfortable with the ball at his feet. Again, another player who's much more used to playing in kind of a pivot in a five at the back system. That's what he's done at Sporting, and that's what he's done for his national team, Denmark. Usually plays in a double pivot in a two. So maybe more used to playing maybe a box to box kind of role. But I do think he's got the qualities to be moulded into a really good six, and I think he's one obviously. I think Ugarte was always one he played with and got more praise, but I think he's one who could potentially, be better than him on the ball, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I feel like he's got more maybe attributes in terms of his pace in the game and maybe reading the game a bit better. Because I think Ugarte has been a bit hit and miss in the Premier League so far, more miss than hit, to be honest. And I think this guy maybe has a bit of a better IQ about him to maybe last in the Premier League.
Scored an absolute banger as well against England in the Euros.
Yeah, he did. Next up is one that is probably the most likely of the lot, which is Johnny Cardoso of Real Betis, 20 million market value, 23 years of age. Spurs do have a buy option on Johnny Cardoso for the summer, but there has been rumours that Spurs might be looking to bring him in as early as this January, which I'll be very open to.
100%. A couple of downsides. He's picked up a hamstring injury this season, so another player.
He's fit now, though, isn't he?
He's fit at the moment, but he has picked up a hamstring injury already this season, so it's not a great look. If you look at the stats, I think very good defensively. Like you can see here, 98th percentile when it comes to tackles, interception. So really involved in the duels, gets around a lot. Aerial duels one is good. Dribblers tackled though quite low, so not great when he's been taken on. Passing wise, does do a lot of through balls. A pass completion not the best. Progressive passes as well not the best, but he does get on the ball an above average amount. So I think on the ball definitely has some work to do, it seems. But defensively, I think would definitely help us when it comes to giving more of a shield.
I just feel like too often our midfield has just got such a gaping hole through it. We need some sort of destroyer in the middle of the park there, because I think Basuma, way too hit and miss. Bentancur as well. We've seen poor performance coming from him, and I love what Bentancur brings more than I like what Basuma brings in terms of on like a consistent level. But I still don't feel like either of them should be our starting six. That's the reality, and I feel like we need a proper destroyer in there. And then last but not least, we're going to look at Angel Gomez, playing for Lille at the moment, 25 million market value, 24 years of age. He is on a free transfer at the end of the season, so could potentially pick him up for a good price in January, or you could wait for the summer to sign a pre-contract with him to get him on a free. But there should be a number of clubs chasing him. Whether he wants to come back to England, we don't know. He recently was involved in the England setup under Lee Carsley as well, and I think he played really well when he was playing for England. Yeah,
very accomplished passer, definitely very comfortable with the ball at his feet. He's one of these guys who knits the play together very nicely. He just keeps in ticking over. So it's a player that teams certainly need, but defensively, not particularly fantastic. Doesn't make too many tackles, not that combative. Very quite low in his defensive metrics and his attacking metrics as well. Doesn't get too many goals and assists. Isn't really one to be regular when it comes to in our final third output, but definitely passing is where he excels, and he's a very technical passer, and I think we saw that for England as well, and quite a decent carrier as well. So his take-ons though are not particularly good, so he's not a particularly good dribbler. I feel like he doesn't have enough facets to his game to really improve us, but I do think he's a decent little player.
So in terms of those five players, Johnny Cardoso, Angel Gomez, João Gomez, Rasmus how do you pronounce it? Hillman, and Angelo Stiller. Who would be your number one kind of option?
I think I'll probably want Stiller, and then I think I would want Cardoso, and then probably Hillman after that. Yeah. I think Stiller and Cardoso are more used to playing in the midfield three, so that definitely counts in their favour. And I think the stats suggest that they might be better fits for us as well.
I kind of like when I see Rasmus Hillman play, I just feel like he could. Martin Hillman. I really feel
he's
like
a manager, Rasmus Hillman.
I feel like when I've seen him play for Denmark and when I've seen him play for Sporting, every time I felt like he can do a really good job for us in the midfield. So I feel like I would say he would be number one, but he does have that Arsenal tattoo that worked massively against him. Like, it just wouldn't sit right with me. A player starting for Spurs or playing for Spurs that has an Arsenal tattoo, it just sends shivers up my spine.
Yeah.
So
anytime he has a bad game, I knew he was a gooner. I knew
you know what I mean?
He's
Inside
working
agent.
against us, exactly.
Inside agent. So I want a pure number 6. I want a pure destroyer. So I think Cardozo will be my number 1 pick, to be honest. I don't know much about Stiller. I've never seen him play, so it's hard for me to say him. But I think Johnny Cardozo would be my number 1. But let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Which central midfielder out of those 5 would you like to see at Tottenham? And also, if we've missed any out, are there any centre mids that you've got your eyes on? Let us know in the comment section below. But next up, we're going to be focusing on right-wing targets. And we've got 5 right-wing players here to talk about that could potentially come in January or even further on in the summer. And obviously, we know right wing is... We've got Brennan Johnson there, but he's pretty much the only natural right winger that we have in the squad. We brought in Wilson Odebear that played there a couple of times, but he's more of a natural left-sided player. So we've got Sonny, we've got Odebear, we've got Yang Min Hyuk, we've got Timo Werner, who are all natural left wingers. And then we've only got...
Yang Min Hyuk's actually been playing more on the right this year.
He has, but I mean, he is a natural left-sided player, though. And he's also 18 years of age and never played this side of the pond. So, I mean, you're going to have to bide your time with him. So, I mean, we do have a very heavy left-sided attack and, you know, only Brennan Johnson really on the right side. So I think it is imperative that we bring in someone that can really fight Brennan Johnson on the right-hand side.
Definitely.
And we've got 5 players here to go through. And the first one is going to be Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth, 28 million market value, 24 years of age. And I was impressed with him last season, and I think this year he's really taken it up a new notch.
Yeah, I think he's been fantastic. I think 5 goals so far in the Premier League this season, but I think you've seen when Bournemouth play, a lot of their attacks go through him. He's very much a much relied upon player in their attack, a very good dribbler as well. You look at the stats of how he's been playing as a winger this season. You look at the take-ons, very high, very good carrying the ball. He's really good at the ball with his feet and driving at players and competing them. That's exactly what Spurs need. His shot creating actions are good. His touches in the attacking third and passes received means he's getting in good positions as well. Could improve maybe his key passes and assist numbers, and shot creating actions. Probably could do a bit more with that. But definitely in terms of a player who gets on the ball and commits players, he's a really good asset for that, and he's definitely improving his final third output as well this season. Yeah,
he really is, and he's a player of the highest quality, improving every year. I would love to see him through the door at Tottenham Hotspur, but I mean, January is a bit far-fetched to bring him in my opinion. Maybe it is one for the summer, like we took Dom Solanke last year for 65 million. I wonder how much it would cost to get him out of Bournemouth. Do you reckon it's a similar fee to Dom Solanke and a bit less?
Probably a similar fee, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Who's next? So next up is a player that we've been linked with over the past couple of years in Takefusa Kubo of Real Sociedad, market value of 40 million, 23 years of age. He's a player that is, not the biggest player, but he's a box of tricks. He's fast, and he can put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, and he's got a low centre of gravity. He's very good in he's kind of omnidirectional, go left, go right. He's really good at kind of committing players. The stats are quite strong with him. He's quite good in all facets when it comes to being a winger. Apart from the fact that this season he hasn't gotten any assists, albeit his expected assists are really high. So maybe it's his teammates letting him down as to why he hasn't gotten any assists. One of the better dribblers in Europe. It says here with unbelievable dribbling ability. Gets on the ball in dangerous positions. Very good at carrying the ball. Key passes as well. Very strong. Shot creating actions. So, I mean, he's playing for a very good Sociedad team who do like to play attacking, high-pressing football as well. But obviously, there are question marks whether, physically he's quite similar to Brian Hill, a bit shorter, a bit smaller. Does he have the physicality to compete in the Premier League? But, if he does it in the La Liga, could it translate potentially? I think...
We said that about Brian Hill.
Yeah, but he was never as good as Kubo was in La Liga. But Kubo this season, in terms of just bare face numbers, goals and assists, hasn't been that strong. I think only 3 goals and no assists. So Is there a reason for that? Maybe his output in the final third decision making needs to improve.
Brian Hill actually has more goal contributions than Kubo this season.
There you have it. But I think Kubo's been a fairly consistent performer over the last few seasons. And statistically, he's a very strong performer. So definitely one to look out for.
Next up, we're going to look at Tyler Dibbling of Southampton having a real breakout year for the club sitting at the bottom of the league. But he has been a standing and a shining light for Southampton. 18 years of age, 22 million market value. Surely he'll be on the move soon because he's a player of real talent. I don't think it'll be in January because I think he'll probably want to stay just to help them with their relegation fight. But in the summer, they look dead set to go down. Surely he makes a move in the summer.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if he's still at Southampton in the summer, to be honest. And he's been a real shining light for them. Such a broad, strong runner. He reminds me of kind of, not in terms of how his quality, but in terms of his physical profile. Definitely reminds me a bit of Gareth Bale when he started to fill in. Very broad shoulders, very strong runner. Very hard to muscle off the ball when he's in full flight. And I think he's got the physicality to be a kind of Gareth Bale running style. Obviously, quality-wise, he's got a good left foot, but he's only 18, so he's still got a lot of improving to do. Statistically, the stats aren't great on him in terms of how good he is passing and getting assists and stuff, but he is playing for the worst team in the league. What is quite strong, even for struggling side, is his take-ons, his carries. So he's extremely good at the ball at his feet, and that means individually, even though Southampton are playing very badly, him individually is still doing quite an effective job when he's got the ball at his feet. He's kind of being a one-man army at times, and I think the stats are showing that.
He's versatile as well.
Yeah, can play in a few different positions. I don't know whether it's just because he's 18 and he's kind of just been told to play a few different positions, or when the longer he plays, he's going to be there. I think he will be a winger. Maybe similar to how Bale used to play a wing fullback when he was younger, and then became just an unbelievable winger.
But I think he's even filled in the 10. He's filled in up front. He's filled in so many different players.
Yeah, it's true. I think he's going to be a star in the making, albeit the stats maybe don't show it. I think he's going to be a real big player in the future. So I think he's one to watch out for.
Next up, we're going to look at Johan Bakayoko of PSV, 40 million market value, 21 years of age. And for that age as well, he is quite experienced. He's got himself into the Belgium setup. He's also played Champions League football. He's been starting for PSV for the last couple of years and produced numbers. I've been really impressed whenever I've seen him play. I go back to a game against Arsenal, I think it was last season in the Champions League, and I thought he just ripped them to shreds that day. And he's a player that is really strong. I think he looks a lot older than he actually is. He can take it past the man. He's a box of tricks, and he's got quality as well. I think he's a real top player.
Yeah, the only thing for him at the moment is this season, for one reason or another, it hasn't quite maybe exploded in the numbers like he threatened to. Last season, he had 21 goal contributions in all competitions. After halfway through this year, he's only on 6. So for some reason, those numbers have dropped off. But when you're looking at his underlying numbers, still pretty strong. I think he's pretty strong at everything, really. Good at dribbling. Also, his expected assists are higher than his actual assist numbers, so it suggests, again, he's creating the chances that aren't being put away. His dribbling's good, carries are good, key passes and short creating actions are really strong. So he is doing a lot of very good things, and he is doing all the stuff that you want your winger to do, especially a winger that in our system that you'd want him to do. Also, rumours that he could be available for as little as 30 million euros, which would be, I think, a very good gamble to do for Tottenham. But are we worried about his drop-off in overall numbers to last season? Maybe that's putting some teams off.
Yeah, for me, no. Just because his underlying stats, like you showed, are still very, very strong. And he's such a young player. He's 21 years of age. You can't it's not going to be monstrous numbers every year. He's still a very young player, applying his trade, learning his game. So he's one that I would love to bring in. And I think he's one that's attainable in January as well. And then last but not least, we're going to look at Magnus Akilush of Monaco, 40 million market value, 22 years of age, another player who's having a bit of a breakout season. I've seen him play for Monaco actually a couple of times this season. Very aggressive player. Yeah, and he's actually, I was looking at some of his stats, and if you profile him as a defensive winger, really strong in the defensive numbers. He's in the top percentiles for tackles made,
tackles, interceptions, dribblers, challenge as well. So he really digs in for the team, and that's obviously something that Tottenham value a lot. But he also gets quite strong attacking numbers as well. Decent with his shot creating actions and take-ons, crosses, carries into the final third. Well, his take-ons are actually a bit below average, but when it comes to his assist numbers, his XG numbers, also pretty strong for a young player. And I think he's one that could really come in and think would thrive in this high-pressing system, charging players down, making those challenges. And obviously Monaco have been really great in the Champions League, and they've surprised a lot of people, and I think it's players like him that have been the reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, his goal contributions numbers aren't the greatest, but he is 22 years of age, 4 assists and 2 goals in the French league this season.
3 and 6 in the Champions League
3
as well,
and 6.
so he's been quite decent in the Champions League.
Fair. But out of those 5 players, Akilush, Bakayoko, Tyler Dibbling, Kubo and Semenyo, what are you saying?
I think Bakayoko would be my number 1 if we can get. I think also it just makes sense in terms of the prices available. I think it'd be worth the gamble. I think right now, I mean, I'd like Tyler Dibbling, but I think we need players right now to really be an upgrade or a real competition for Brennan. So I think maybe Akalush. I think he would probably be my second pick. Kubo's up there, but I know just something tells me I'm not sure how good it would be for us. I mean, he does play in a high intensity system in Sociedad, so maybe he'd be used to it. But as well, this season's also had a bit of a drop off. I think I really like the thought of Akalush. I think off the ball, I think it would really suit our style.
For me, I agree with you. It's Johan Bakayoko. I wanted him last summer. I made that quite clear, and we never got him, obviously. And I think he's one that can come in here and now and make an impact. He's an unbelievable 1v1 dribbler, and that is what we need. We so desperately need that to add to our repertoire of wingers. And I think he's someone that will come in and really challenge Brennan Johnson for that right wing spot, if not just come in as a full-out starter straight away above Brennan Johnson. So I'd love to see Johan Bakayoko, and failing that, I think Antoine Semenyo would be probably my second choice. I think he comes in, Premier League experience, doing it week in, week out at the moment for Bournemouth, and I think he's another one that can come and hit the ground running. However, I don't think he is attainable in January, but if we don't sign one in this January transfer window, I think he's one for the summer that I would like us to really go for. But that is our right wing targets. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Out of those 5 right wingers, which one would you like to go for? And if we haven't mentioned the one that you're looking at, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And last but not least, we're going to look at strikers. We've got 5 strikers here that Spurs could potentially target. However, I think out of all the positions that we spoke about, this is probably the kind of the least pressing issue out of the lot. We do have Richarlison, albeit we can't get him on the pitch, and we got Dom Solanke. So I just don't see us going for a striker in this January transfer window. Potentially, if we move on Richarlison in the summer, I can see us getting one in the summer. But I mean, for January, I just don't think it's one that we're going to be pursuing. However, we have picked out 5 names, and the first one is Vitor Roque at Barcelona. He is on loan at Real Betis at the moment, 20 million market value, 19 years of age. Came with a big name from the Brazilian league to Barcelona. Couldn't really fight his way into the team or get any regular minutes at Barcelona. He has found himself on loan at Betis.
Yeah, and he's doing quite well there at 19. I think it's 4 goals this season, but I think they're really happy with him. I think he's shown that he can perform at that level at La Liga. He's scoring, scored decent, 4 goals, but for a teenager, still pretty good. And I think his underlying numbers, he's a very hard worker. I've profiled all these forwards as a pressing forward, and you can see here the amount of tackles he makes is really impressive, especially in the final third. I think as well, his XG numbers are quite strong, so he gets in really good goal scoring positions, takes a lot of shots, and a lot of them he gets on target as well. His XG per shot is quite high, which means he's taking shots from positions where you think he might score. Goal to shot is quite low, so maybe he can work on how clinical he is, but he's still a very young striker, that will come. But I think as a pressing forward, he kind of profiles quite well for Spurs, I think, in terms of how hard he works.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a player which obviously has high potential and a high ceiling. That's why Barcelona did take the punt on him. But at 19 years of age, I would just prefer us to get someone more established, to be honest.
I mean, we have someone more established in Solanke.
But we've got him and Richarlison. That's 2 kind of established players. I would like us to keep that. Next up is a player called Omar Mamouche, 25 years of age, 60 million market value, currently smashing it out for Eintracht Frankfurt at the moment. He had a great season last year, but this year is a different level to anything that we saw last season.
Mido approved.
Exactly. Mido told us at the end of last season, go get Mamouche. He's about to explode. And he most definitely has. He told us just before Salah exploded, he was going to explode as well. But the Egyptian international really is smashing in the goals for fun this season.
Yeah, he is. And he's really exploded into life, especially as well in the Europa League, but also the Bundesliga. He's just scoring goals for fun. I think it was his number 13 goals and 7 assists in 15 games. So that's 20 goal contributions in 15 Bundesliga games and 6 goal contributions in 6 Bundesliga games as well. But his underlying numbers also just as strong as well. He works extremely hard, so that his pressing numbers are really good. Look at that 98th percentile for tackles in the attacking third, which means he's so good at pressing and getting close to people and getting those tackles in. Shot creating actions as well from defensive actions, really high. But also, as you can see, the goal contributions are there. He takes a lot of shots. And as you can see here, his XG per shot is really low, which means he's scoring goals from areas where you don't expect him to score from, yet his goal tally is really, really high. So his finishing is fantastic. Now, look, you can maybe argue, is it an unsustainable overperformance, or is this something that will carry on? But I think last season as well, he's not just a good goal scorer, but he's also a scorer of great goals and a real great finisher. And I think that's a sign of a player who's maybe entering an elite level of his career.
Yeah, and I think whatever club get him is going to be a very lucky one. There's been links to clubs like Liverpool and really big clubs for Omar Mamouche now, and I feel like we probably missed a boat on him, to be honest. We should have got him last summer if we wanted him. But would you have taken getting Omar Mamouche last summer if it meant not getting Solanke?
Would I have taken getting Omar Mamouche? Maybe. Would I have taken getting Omar Mamouche? No. I'm going to stick with Big Dom.
Really?
Big Dom.
Interesting. Next up, Evan Ferguson, 20 years of age, 40 million market value at Brighton. I mean, he's been suffering with injuries a lot over the past year. I mean, when he burst onto the scene, was it last season or the season before? You were thinking this guy is just hits the ground running at 18 years of age, and you know he looks like a Premier League ready player, but he just can't seem to get a look in at Brighton anymore with the likes of Danny Welbeck there and João Pedro and stuff. He's just not getting any regular game time. It has been said that he might be available on loan in this January transfer window with the likes of West Ham and other clubs interested. I don't know what's gone on with Evan Ferguson, but he just can't seem to recapture that form that he showed a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a young striker, I guess, and for one reason or another, he's struggling with the consistency. The underlying stats suggest he's quite good at when he takes a shot, getting them on target, and his goal-to-shot ratio is good, so he's quite clinical. But obviously, he's not taking enough shots. He's quite low in the shot tally, and also, he doesn't really create for his teammates defensively. Quite good at the tackles and interceptions, but tackles high in the attacking third, not particularly good. But he's not terrible as a defensive forward. But he doesn't get enough goal scoring positions. He doesn't take enough shots. I guess he's maybe way too easy to deal with, I guess, is the problem. But I guess he's a young striker.
But I mean, at 18, when he got his first when he was going on that run that season, it looked like you were watching like a player in his mid-20s, didn't it? Because he's like so big, so physical, and like for an 18-year-old, you thought this guy is like going to be the next like Harry Kane or something like at that point. But
hat-trick last year against Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, but that's Was that last year or this year?
Last year, I think.
And then he didn't play again pretty much for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what it is about Evan Ferguson. Is it just because it's age and he's just trying to find himself, or is he stagnating?
I don't know. Has he had any injuries or anything? I'm not really sure.
He did have injuries, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's probably hurt him, I would say.
Would you like to see him at Spurs?
I wouldn't mind taking a punt on him on a loan if we can't get anyone, but I don't think I'd sign him permanently for big money. I don't think I'd do that.
Because like 2 years ago, everyone would have like just thrown like 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever it was. Like, name your price. Jonathan David next, a player that's been heavily linked with Spurs over the last year or so, 24 years of age, 45 million market value at Lille. And yeah, we talk about 45 million market value, but he's on a free. His contract is running out at the end of the season. So he's a player who I had question marks over last summer when we were talking about signing him, because they were talking about signing him for quite a respectable fee. But I think his performances this season in the league and in the Champions League have really... Was it a Champions League or Europa League? I can't remember which
Champions
one.
League.
It is Champions League, yeah.
Doing very well, yeah.
I think has really made me kind of confirmed in my mind, like, if we can and have the opportunity to sign him for free, we probably should.
He's been like the talisman for Lille.
Yeah, in terms of, I'd love to swap him for Richarlison, basically.
Yeah, I think he offers something different to our forward line. I think the numbers suggest as well, pressing wise, he's still pretty strong. He does put in a good amount of effort. He's not elite, but he's above average in most defensive metrics. He's also, by these stats, he's suggesting he's very, very clinical. He doesn't take a lot of shots, but his goal to shot is very high, and obviously his non-penalty goals is one of the highest in Europe, 86th percentile. So suggests that he's actually a very clinical striker, which is something which has been people have accused him of not being, which is clinical. Maybe he's added that to his game. You remember he's only 24, so he's still all 20. Maybe he's getting 25 now, but he's something that maybe he's learned or he's trained very hard at. But he seems to be a lot more clinical now than he was. The only thing I would suggest, which is not great, is he doesn't seem to do much when it comes to assists or creating chances. Seems to be very much a goal scorer, and if he's not goal scoring, he's not going to be one that's going to create too many chances for his teammates. And he doesn't take that many
3
shots.
assists in his last 4 games.
So maybe that's something that's improving. But in terms of his overall numbers, they're not great from an assist point of view. But definitely he's adding that clinical edge, and that was definitely something that was holding him back. And maybe that's why he's becoming that striker we all hoped he'd become.
Yeah, in the Champions League this year, 10 games, 6 goals, 3 assists.
Yeah, he's been Champions League. He's been incredible, absolutely incredible.
And then, last but not least, we're going to be looking at Wolves' Matthias Cunha, 25 years of age, 50 million market value, and I don't think he's going to be at Wolves for much longer. This guy, I think he's improved so much from last year, and I was really impressed with him last year as well. Really started to add those games, but I think those goals in his game last year. But this year, I think he's just added to his all-round gameplay. He blew me away in the first half at Tottenham as well. I thought he just ran rings around us. And he's a player that can play up front. He can play on the wing. Versatile in that sense. He can create. He can put it in the back of the net. I love Matthias Cunha. I think he's a top player.
And I think his stats are absolutely top as well. You can see this. It's incredible how his stats are matching up this season. His defensive metrics, look, you can see that. He profiles incredibly well as a pressing forward. So look, he's in the 99th percentile in a lot of these stats defensively. Tackles won, tackles, interceptions, shot creating actions from defensive actions. So brilliant defensive metrics. What's really impressive though, his XG per shot is in the 3rd percentile, which means he's taking shots from places where you wouldn't expect him to score ever. And yet, for non-penalty goals, he's in the 80th percentile, which I think is basically displays what bangers he's scoring this season. He's scoring banger after banger. It's almost, if he keeps going, you can almost compare it to like Gareth Bale's season, the amount of bangers he's scoring. It's incredible. The goals he scored from outside the box or unbelievable touches and volleys and things like that. He's having a real... I thought last season he was good as well, but in terms of the quality of goals he's scoring, I don't know if anyone's got a better repertoire of goals this season than Cunha. I think he's been incredible. And he creates chances for his teammates as well, as you can see with the stats. The stats showed that as well, with his assist numbers, shot creating actions, goal creating actions. He'll just be the perfect guy for us, and he's versatile. I just think the way Cunha's playing, I think you bring him into this team and he'll go from strength to strength.
And this is him doing it for a Wolves team that have pretty much been a shit show all season.
Yeah, true.
10 goals and 4 assists in 19 games.
Yeah.
That is monstrous numbers for a team like Wolves. Last season 12 goals and 7 assists as well. So he can create as much as he can score. The guy's brilliant. He really is. And he is definitely going to get a move to a top team this summer. Most definitely. And there's been heavy links to Arsenal and some other clubs as well. So hopefully he doesn't go there. But in terms of those 5 players, I think he would be probably my number 1 choice.
I think so as well.
Just because of how versatile he is as well.
I think he matches up on the data, and I think this season's just been amazing. I think him and Mamouche are standouts probably on this list. I think Mamouche is Cunha probably is as well. I think both of them probably pipe dreams. David probably 3rd, then probably Roque, then Ferguson.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, so there you have it. Those are the striking options that we are looking at. Let us know what your thoughts are. Which one would you like to see at Spurs? And if there is a player that we haven't covered as well, let us know which striker you'd like to see at Spurs. Probably in the summer in the comments section below. Yeah, and I think that is that. There is one super chat. Let's go and look at it. From Ian JD, and it says, can't expect Levy not to pull the trigger if we lose on our 2 league games and the League Cup as well.
I mean, I think we will probably lose all these games. I mean, I don't know how what he can do to not do it, to not lose them at the moment. Like, he's trying his best, but I don't think Levy does pull the trigger. Even if we lose them, I think he holds his nerve.
Levy and holding his nerve don't really go in the same sentence.
Yeah, but he's done it so far.
Yeah. Yeah, look, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, like I said, me and Sim on the watch longs. Come and join us from 12:15 tomorrow. A nice early kickoff, which we could have done without, to be honest, with the illness running through the camp. They could have. I think Spurs. We should just delay this game like a day. Like, surely, like, the Premier League will have some mercy on us or something.
I saw a tweet. It said that Spurs have been so impressed with Archie Gray's immune system that they decided not to give the players any medication.
Oh, God. That's a shit show season this has been so far, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I want to thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.